Hello and welcome to our English learning podcast for beginners. I'm here to help you improve your English step by step. In each episode, I'll give you simple and useful tips that you can use every day. Don't worry if your English is not perfect, this podcast is for you. Just listen, relax, and enjoy learning. Today, we have a special episode with 3 important lessons. First, we'll talk about how to improve your listening. Then, we'll learn how to grow your vocabulary. And finally, I'll give you tips to speak English with more confidence. So, let's begin your journey to better English, together. Today we will start with how to improve your listening skills in English. Let's go. When I first started learning English, I found listening to be the hardest part. I could read simple texts and write basic sentences, but when someone spoke to me in English, I felt lost. The words seemed to fly by too fast, and I couldn't catch what was being said. At first, I felt very discouraged. I thought I would never be able to understand native speakers. But then I decided to change my approach. I started with very simple materials, children's songs, slow podcasts, and short conversations. Every day, I listened to the same short audio several times. First, I just listened without doing anything. Then, I tried to catch a few words. Slowly, I began to recognize common phrases like, "How are you?" "What's your name?" and "Where are you from?" I didn't understand every word, but I focused on the words I knew. I learned to guess the meaning from the situation. I also used subtitles a lot. At first, I listened with English subtitles. This helped me connect the spoken words to their written form. I began to notice that some words were pronounced differently than I expected. That was normal, and I started to pay more attention to pronunciation. I repeated the sentences out loud, trying to copy the intonation and rhythm. It felt funny at first, but I knew it would help. I also learned to slow down the audio. On YouTube or podcast apps, I could play the audio at 0.75 speed. That made it easier to catch each word. I remember listening to the same short story 10 times. The first time, I only understood a little. By the 10th time, I could understand almost everything. That gave me a lot of confidence. I also started listening to English every day. Even if I only had 5 or 10 minutes, I used that time to listen. While walking, cleaning, or eating, I listened to simple English content. I even recorded myself speaking and compared it to native speakers. This helped me become more aware of how English sounds. I found some good apps and websites for beginners. Some had slow news in English. Others had everyday conversations. I liked using these tools because they were made for learners like me. I didn't worry about understanding every word. My goal was to improve little by little. I also made listening a habit. I created a routine. Every morning, I listened to something short and simple. I made a list of useful phrases and listened to them over and over. Repetition was very important. I learned that my brain needed to hear words many times before I could remember them. I also started to watch cartoons in English. The language was simple, and the characters spoke clearly. I watched shows like Peppa Pig and Dora the Explorer. They asked questions and gave me time to think. This was perfect for my level. I answered out loud, and that made listening more active. I wasn't just watching, I was participating. Later, I moved to short YouTube videos and beginner podcasts. Some podcasts explain things in a very clear way. They used slow speech and basic vocabulary. That was perfect for me. I listened to the same episodes many times. I also found a language partner. We didn't talk much at first, but we sent each other voice messages. Listening to my partner's messages helped me get used to different accents and styles. I asked them to speak slowly and repeat things when needed. That made communication easier and more relaxed. I also joined online groups where learners shared audio clips and discussed them. It was helpful to know that others had the same problems. We encouraged each other and shared tips. I learned to enjoy listening. I stopped seeing it as a difficult task and started to see it as a way to connect with the world. I listened to music, simple podcasts, and stories. I even listened to English while falling asleep. I think that helped me become more familiar with the sound of the language. Sometimes I closed my eyes and just listened. I imagined the scenes and tried to understand without reading. It was hard at first, but it became easier. I also learned to focus on keywords. I didn't try to understand every single word. I looked for words that gave me the main idea. For example, if someone said, "I went to the market and bought apples, oranges, and bananas," I focused on the words market and bought and understood the general meaning. That was a big help. I also kept a notebook with new phrases. I wrote them down and listened to them again and again. I practiced saying them out loud. Listening and speaking go together, so repeating what I heard was very helpful. I started to understand more because I was speaking more. The two skills helped each other. I also gave myself small goals. For example, I decided to understand one full sentence without subtitles. When I did it, I felt proud. I kept going. Later, I tried to understand full conversations. I learned to be patient and kind to myself. Listening takes time. It's like training your ears. At the beginning, it feels like noise. But with practice, it starts to make sense. I made listening fun. I listened to jokes, short stories, and even kids' audiobooks. These were interesting and easy to follow. I chose topics I liked, so I stayed motivated. If I got bored, I changed the material. I wanted to enjoy the process. I knew that motivation was important. I also listened in different situations, with and without subtitles, fast and slow, with and without transcripts. This helped me adapt to different ways of listening. I noticed that my listening improved more when I was relaxed. Stress made it harder to focus. So, I took breaks, drank tea, and listened with a calm mind. Over time, I saw progress. I could understand more and more. One day, I realized I was watching a video in English and laughing at the jokes without translating. That was a big moment for me. I felt that my hard work was paying off. I started to feel more comfortable listening to English every day. It became a normal part of my life. Even now, I keep practicing. I know that listening is not something you learn once, it's something you develop over time. I continue to discover new sounds, expressions, and accents. I'm not perfect, but I'm better than I was. And that's what matters. I encourage anyone who wants to improve their English listening to start small, be consistent, and enjoy the journey. It's okay to repeat things, to slow down the audio, and to not understand everything at once. That's how we learn. The more we listen, the more we understand. And little by little, we become confident listeners. Just like I did. And now let's talk about how to build a stronger English vocabulary. Let's go. When I started learning English, one of the biggest challenges for me was vocabulary. I often found myself forgetting words soon after learning them. I would write new words in my notebook, but when I tried to use them in conversation or writing, I couldn't remember them. It was frustrating. So I decided to find better ways to build my vocabulary. First, I chose simple, useful words. I didn't try to learn difficult or rare words. I focused on words I could use in daily life, like book, apple, go, come, and house. I made small word lists and reviewed them every day. I also tried to learn words in context. Instead of memorizing just the word and its translation, I learned full sentences. For example, instead of just learning run, I learned I like to run in the morning. This helped me understand how words are used. I also listened to English every day. I chose easy podcasts and YouTube videos made for beginners. When I heard a new word, I paused and wrote it down. Then I listened again and repeated the word out loud. Repeating words helped me remember them better. I also used flashcards. I wrote the English word on one side and the meaning or a picture on the other side. I reviewed these cards every day. I made them by hand because writing helped me remember. Later, I also used apps like Anki and Quizlet. These apps reminded me to review words at the right time. I also grouped words by topic. For example, I had one list for food, one for colors, and one for actions. This helped me connect words and remember them better. I also played word games. I used simple games like word searches and memory cards. They made learning fun. I didn't study for hours. I studied a little every day. Just 10 or 15 minutes. But I did it every day. I also tried to use new words right away. I made short sentences or told small stories with the new words. I even talked to myself in English. I would say things like, now I am eating, or, that is a red apple. It helped me remember the words. I also watched English cartoons and repeated what the characters said. They used simple and clear language. I also read children's books and easy English stories. When I saw a new word, I tried to guess the meaning from the sentence. If I still didn't understand, I checked the meaning, but I didn't stop reading too much. I wanted to enjoy the story. I also listened to the same stories again and again. With each time, I understood more and remembered more words. I also made a vocabulary journal. In my journal, I wrote new words, their meanings, example sentences, and a picture or drawing. I reviewed my journal every week. Sometimes, I also recorded myself saying the words. Then I listened and compared with native speakers. It helped me with pronunciation. I also joined an English learning group. We shared new words every week and used them in short conversations. It was fun and helped me practice. I also paid attention to word families. For example, if I learned the word write, I also learned writer, writing, and wrote. This way, I learned more words with less effort. I also learned some word roots and prefixes like un-dash, re-dash, and pre-dash dot. It helped me understand and guess new words. But I didn't try to learn too many words at once. I usually learned 5 to 10 new words a day. That was enough for me. I focused more on using them often. Repetition was key. The more I used the words, the more I remembered. I also tried to connect new words to my native language, but I didn't translate everything. Sometimes, I used images, sounds, or examples. I wanted to think in English, not just translate. I also learned from my mistakes. When I used a word wrong, I corrected it and tried again. Mistakes were part of learning. I didn't feel bad. I also listened to music in English and read the lyrics. I sang along and learned many new words that way. I also watched English subtitles with movies and repeated the interesting sentences. I learned many everyday expressions this way. I also set goals. For example, I decided to learn 100 new words in a month. I made a plan and checked my progress. It kept me motivated. I also celebrated small successes. When I remembered a difficult word, I smiled. When I used a new word correctly, I felt proud. These small wins made a big difference. I also stayed curious. When I didn't know a word, I wrote it down and looked it up later. I kept a list on my phone. I also listened for new words in conversations. Sometimes I heard a word many times before I learned it. That was okay. I also found that reading helped me a lot. I read simple articles, blog posts, and short books. I underlined new words and made notes. I read for fun, not just for study. That made it easier to remember. I also listened to audio versions of the texts while reading. It helped me see and hear the words at the same time. I also used English dictionaries for beginners. They explained the words in simple English. That helped me understand without translating. I also used mind maps. I drew a word in the center and added connected words around it. For example, food in the center, and around it, fruit, vegetables, meat, and bread. It helped me see how words are related. I also made small tests for myself. I covered the meanings and tried to remember. Then I checked. I also taught new words to my friends. Teaching helped me remember better. I also learned from my favorite topics. I loved cooking, so I learned food vocabulary first. I listened to cooking videos in English. I repeated the words and tried the recipes. I learned faster because I was interested. I also used labels at home. I put sticky notes on objects like door, window, mirror, and table. Seeing the words every day helped me remember them. I also used simple apps with pictures and sounds. They showed the word, said it aloud, and used it in a sentence. That helped me connect sound, meaning, and use. I also focused on high-frequency words. These are the most common words in English. I found word lists online and started there. Learning the most useful words helped me understand more. I also practiced spelling. I wrote new words by hand and typed them. It helped me remember the shape of the word. I also practiced speaking. I used voice-to-text apps to check if I pronounced the word correctly. If the app understood me, I was on the right track. If not, I tried again. I also learned synonyms and opposites. For example, big and large, or hot and cold. This helped me say things in different ways. I also watched videos with simple definitions and examples. I paused and repeated. I listened many times until the word felt natural. I also created small dialogues using the new words. I imagined situations like going to the store or meeting a friend. I practiced with these mini conversations. I also used language exchange apps. I talked to people and tried to use new words. I asked for corrections. It was scary at first, but I got better with time. I also joined online classes where we had vocabulary games and speaking practice. It was fun and useful. I also listened to podcasts with transcripts. I read along and learned many new words. I also listened again later without the text. It helped me connect sounds to meanings. I also stayed patient. Vocabulary grows slowly. I knew I wouldn't remember everything at once. So I kept going. Little by little, my vocabulary grew. I looked back after a few months and saw big progress. I could read more, understand more, and speak more. I was happy. I still learn new words today. Learning vocabulary is a journey, not a race. I enjoy the process. I know that with time, practice, and the right methods, anyone can build a strong vocabulary. It takes effort, but it works. I started with nothing, and now I can express myself in English. That feels amazing. And I know you can do it too. And finally, let's talk about how to practice speaking English with confidence. When I started learning English, I felt very nervous about speaking. I thought my accent was strange, and I was afraid to make mistakes. I worried people would laugh or not understand me. So, I stayed silent many times, even when I wanted to speak. But then I realized something very important: if I never speak, I will never improve. I decided to change my attitude. I wanted to speak with confidence, even if I made mistakes. I told myself that it was okay to be wrong because every mistake was a chance to learn. So, I started talking to myself in English. I looked in the mirror and said simple things like, "Hello, my name is," or "I like apples." At first, it felt strange, but I kept doing it every day. I practiced saying what I was doing, like, "I am brushing my teeth," or "I am cooking rice." Speaking out loud helped me become more comfortable. Then, I started recording my voice. I used my phone to record short sentences or stories. When I listened to the recordings, I noticed my mistakes and worked to fix them. I also tried to copy native speakers. I watched simple videos and repeated after them. I copied the way they said each word. This helped me with pronunciation and rhythm. I also learned to slow down. I didn't try to speak fast. I focused on speaking clearly and correctly. I practiced saying short dialogues. Sometimes I imagined I was in a shop or meeting someone new. I would say things like, "Can I have some water?" or "Nice to meet you." I also used language learning apps that let me speak and get feedback. Some apps even told me if my pronunciation was good. I also joined online speaking groups. I found people who were also learning English. We met once a week to talk about simple topics. Sometimes we talked about food, family, or our favorite movies. I felt nervous at first, but everyone was friendly. We all made mistakes, and that was okay. We helped each other. I also made friends online who spoke English. We chatted through voice messages. I listened to them and answered with my voice too. Little by little, I felt more confident. I also remembered to smile while speaking. It helped me feel relaxed and sound more natural. I also learned short phrases and expressions that people use in daily life. This helped me speak more like a native speaker. I kept a small notebook with useful sentences like, "I don't understand, can you repeat that?" and "What do you mean?" These phrases helped me when I didn't know what to say. I also practiced small conversations with myself. For example, I would ask, "How are you?" and then answer, "I'm fine, thank you." I repeated these every day. Repeating helped me remember the words and say them more easily. I also watched English shows with subtitles. I listened and then paused to repeat what I heard. Sometimes I watched one short video many times. Each time I understood more and spoke better. I also sang English songs. Singing helped me learn how to say words smoothly. I didn't worry about being perfect. I just enjoyed the music and practiced the words. I also read short stories out loud. This helped me learn how to pronounce new words. Reading out loud every day made my speaking stronger. I also tried tongue twisters like, "She sells seashells by the seashore." These were fun and helped with clear pronunciation. I didn't try to learn too much at once. I focused on learning a few sentences and saying them well. Then I added more. Slowly, I built my speaking skills. I also talked to my pets in English. They didn't understand, but it gave me a chance to practice without feeling shy. I even described my day to them in English. I also used a mirror to see my mouth move. This helped me say sounds correctly. I compared my mouth with the videos I watched. I also joined English speaking clubs at school. We played games and did role plays. This made speaking fun and not scary. I also learned to relax before speaking. I took deep breaths and said to myself, "You can do it." I stopped thinking about mistakes and focused on sharing my message. I also asked teachers and friends to correct me kindly. Feedback helped me learn faster. I also celebrated my progress. When I said something well, I smiled and said, "Good job." I gave myself small rewards for practicing. I told myself that confidence is not about being perfect. It's about trying, even when it's hard. I practiced every day, even just for 10 minutes. Speaking English became a habit. I also made a list of my favorite words and used them in sentences. I talked about my hobbies, like drawing or cooking, in English. This made speaking more fun. I also used flashcards with common phrases. I practiced them out loud. I even acted them out with gestures. I practiced making phone calls in English. I pretended to order food or ask for help. These role plays made me ready for real life. I also stood in front of the mirror and gave short speeches. I talked about my day, my plans, or what I learned. I pretended I was giving a presentation. This helped me speak with more confidence. I also joined speaking challenges online. I posted short videos of myself speaking English. People gave me support and kind comments. I felt proud. I also noticed that when I smiled and kept eye contact, I felt more confident. So I practiced smiling and looking forward when I spoke. I also told myself that everyone learns at their own speed. I didn't compare myself to others. I focused on my own journey. I also found a speaking partner. We met twice a week and practiced simple conversations. We helped each other and became good friends. I also tried to think in English. This helped me speak faster and with less translation. At first, it was hard, but I started with small things like, "I'm hungry," or, "It's cold." I also listened to simple podcasts and repeated parts out loud. I shadowed the speaker and tried to match their speed and tone. This helped me sound more natural. I also practiced answering common questions like, "What's your name?" or "Where are you from?" until my answers felt easy. I also kept a speaking diary. Every night, I spoke for 2 minutes about my day. I didn't write it, I just spoke freely. This helped me organize my thoughts in English. I also learned to laugh at my mistakes. I didn't take them too seriously. Instead, I said, "Oops, next time I'll do better." This positive attitude gave me more courage. I also used English when shopping or ordering food, even if it was just a few words. I looked for small chances to speak. These real-life moments gave me confidence. I also remembered that native speakers are kind. They understand that I'm learning. Most people are happy to help. This made me less afraid to try. I also used subtitles in English, not in my language. This helped me connect sounds to words. I also learned simple grammar rules to make better sentences. But I didn't wait to speak perfectly. I spoke with what I knew. I also used gestures and body language when I didn't know a word. Communication is more than words. I also learned to pause and think before speaking. I didn't rush. It's okay to take a moment. I also joined events where people practice English. Sometimes we played games or had small debates. These helped me speak with others. I also asked questions during class. Even if my question was simple, it helped me speak in front of others. I also watched my favorite movies in English again and again. I learned lines and repeated them like the actors. This helped me learn natural speaking styles. I also made a playlist of phrases I wanted to remember. I listened and repeated them often. I also used English while doing daily tasks. I named objects around me. I described what I was doing. I turned everyday life into speaking practice. I also read dialogues and books out loud. I acted them out. I imagined I was in the scene. I also made up my own stories and told them in English. They were short and simple, but they helped me practice. I also joined online forums where people practiced English by voice. I listened first, then joined. I also watched videos of people learning English. Their journeys inspired me. I learned new tips and felt less alone. I also tried not to use my native language while practicing. I stayed in English as much as I could. This helped me think faster. I also taught my younger sibling some English words. Teaching helped me remember and speak better. I also watched cartoons and repeated lines. Cartoons have clear and slow speech. They are great for beginners. I also recorded myself once a week and kept those recordings. I listened after a month and saw how much I improved. This made me happy and proud. I also didn't give up. On hard days, I still practiced a little. I knew that every small step helped me grow. I reminded myself that confidence comes with practice. The more I spoke, the easier it became. And today, I can speak English without fear. I make mistakes, yes, but I keep going. I enjoy speaking now. I can talk to people around the world. I feel free. I feel proud. I know that if I can do it, you can do it too. Great job. You did it. Thank you for listening to this special episode. I hope the tips were helpful and easy to understand. Remember, learning English takes time, and small steps every day make a big difference. Keep listening, keep reading, keep speaking, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. You are doing amazing, and I'm proud of you. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend and come back next time for more easy English lessons. Until then, keep practicing and keep smiling. See you soon.